We can discuss the pure monopoly as chapter number 10. Initially, we can discuss the barriers to entry. Mostly, the markets and the scales of economists, big firms enjoy lower product cost, where the or than small firms, or renders monopoly organizations more efficient. Or point number two, we can find the patent and the licenses are the most important as well. Ownership and control of resources attributes the scale of the barriers to the entry in that kind of markets, etc. Strategic barrier to entry, cutthroat competition, like the most important part, and the price slashing aimed at new entrant. So, so we can discuss the figure number one, uh, chapter number 10. So diminishing return to scale, we can see the scale average total cost, where the total amount of dimensions, like we can see the scale where the amounting on the first axle and the second axles, we are seeing the quantities. Okay, or you can see the the slope over it, like when the amount or the total cost was $20, the quantity are providing by the monopolist market is like 50. When the amount decrease, when the quantity increase to 100, then amount decrease to $15. And similarly, when the quantity increase to 200, then the amount is decreased to 10 dollars. So it's a gap of the market, like when more units want, then the amount as per unit will be the lesser. So it shows the it basically shows the dimensioning return scale. The marginal revenue in monopoly, the perfectly competitive firm face perfectly elastic demand at the first or at the firm level. Monopoly firms face the industry demand curve, as which is downward sloping. Normally, we can look in the normal routine of the markets, etc. Thus, to increase sales, a monopoly firm must lower the selling price, or mostly they're lowering their prices when they sell more units. They are cheaping the cost on per unit price now. So if customers buy more units, their sales a lower amount for per unit, but the prices always matter, especially for marginal revenue in monopoly market. Thus to increase sale, a monopoly firm must lower the selling price. Unlike for a perfectly competitive firm, a monopoly firm's marginal revenue falls more rapidly than the price. Where we find a chart for the revenue data and the cost data. The quantity of output, which always matter, like if as I explained before, or as I mentioned before, like if we demand low quantity, if we demand less quantity, the price for per unit will mostly the higher side. But we demand more units, then the per unit price will always be the lesser. So that's why the quantity of output is if increasing, the price will be decreasing. So that will increase the average revenue. So the total revenue will automatically increase when the average revenue will increasing, and the marginal revenue will sustain the market as the average will always maintain. So that's the reason for cost. That's the reason why there's a reason why cost data, like maintaining the average, how it's create the market, like average total cost has a sustainability and attributes a total amount of revenue, like the costs are maintaining their level, but the total cost will increase, will upper side, and the marginal cost will increase as they multiply from 1 to 5. So the profit will always increase in that kind of scenarios. Like if we have lower amount, if we if we sell lower quantity, we have high cost for per unit, and loss, we are find a loss for our per unit price, because we are selling the products, like or any firm has selling has selling the his product on a quantity basis. But these kind of firms, like who create a better monopoly, or who create or inspire for monopoly, so they made their products like a huge amount, or they are if any firm buy it for a huge number of units, then it cost will be better for increment. There's a scale. There's a scale for showing the loss, how it sustained the market. The dollar price is increased from 132 to 142. The bracket, the gap, we found the $30. The $30 is per difference of the market. And if the price increase, then demand is also increase. That was the actually monopolist strategy, where the unit is where the business is doing on the unit prices, as shown in the figure below, or I'm sorry, mentioned. Marginal is equals to marginal revenue is equal to zero at unit elastic output. Like when the prices are increased, or for instance on the $180, like the marginal revenue will be on their maximum level as the quantity is selling, but the demand is also increase on the same point. That was the marginal revenue, and the combination of demand. Basically, monopolies always operate in the elastic region of industry demand, never in the unit elastic or inelastic regions. That's why that kind of market is always increasing, and these are the leading market values. They have the leading market values. If you see the graph for total revenue, we can find a simple graph as the price the price is increasing, the quantity or total revenue will also increasing. But then the time, the level of price increase and the quantity is also increase, the total revenue line is also decreasing. Like the total number of per unit is, we are selling per unit cost, and the per unit amount is increasing when the price is low. When the per unit is selling on good amount on huge level, then it helped to maximization of the profit, and maximization, it helped to profit maximization of total revenue. Figure number 10 for 1.4, profit maximum for a monopolist, like price, cost, and revenues or quantity, where we find the economic profit, or how the control of price range, where the marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, where the profit per unit is economic profit, which help the market to betterly grow. And they figure out the the perfectly economic profit will always create a marginal cost, which help to sustain or create a sustainability in the market, and increase in balancing in quantity and range of price, cost, or revenues. There is a table steps of the graphical determination, or determining the profit maximum or maximizing output, profit maximizing price, and economic profit, if any, in pure monopoly. If basically the monopoly, the three steps are basically matter in the monopolist market, or in the monopolist firms, like the determining the profit maximizing output by finding where managerial revenue is equal to managerial cost. The second step, determining the profit maximizing price by extending a vertical line upward from the downward, or for the output determined in step 1 to the pure monopolist demand curve. Step number 3, determining the pure monopolist economic profit using one of two methods. First method, find profit per unit by subtracting the average total cost of the profit. Method number 2, find total cost by multiplying the average total cost of the profit, maximizing output by that output. Find total revenue by multiplying the profit maximum output by the profit maximizing price, then subtract total cost from total to determine economic profit, if any, then put it there. Loss minimizing output for a monopolist. In this figure, we can find out the price, cost, and revenue and dollar, like how the quantity attract to them. The marginal cost is equals to marginal cost. Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Cost and loss will be sustained a loss per unit as PM, like we have the marginal cost on sustainability level, and the loss per unit is will be sustained. Figure number 10.6, allocative and productive inefficiency under monopoly. Basically, the monopoly is creating a balance sheet, and the balance sheet will help them to block the entry, or block the the more competition or more compatibility from the market. So it will create a purely competitive industry or pure monopoly. Like there is many firms in our industry, like Google, like YouTube, or etc. Monopolist and consumer surplus. Monopolist captures some consumer surplus. Consumers would be better served by perfect competitive competition. Perfectly discriminating monopolist charge each customer their marginal benefit, capturing all customer surplus. X inefficiency where the total average cost comes at the time the average total cost has maintained the average on the axis with the quantities, which is manageable. A perfect discriminating monopolist, the single price monopolist, the perfect discriminating monopolist, where the quantities are always matter, as the shown price and cost and price and cost, and the quantity with the quantity one and quantity and the perfect discriminating monopolist is quantity one and quantity two. They have controlling the price on the different slabs with maintaining the market and maintaining market values with proper sloping and sustainability. The monopoly under regulation. The monopoly under regulation, we find the monopoly price where the sustainability comes and profitability on different units, which doesn't create which sometimes create hurdles, but the fair returns price has to be on good price and good selling per unit. When the social optimal price comes, the per unit price is very low, with the quantity is increased. We can also say due to quantity will be increased. So the marginal cost will be made due to these curves, and also average total cost. So thank you very much.